Welcome, welcome everyone. What is up? It's the bounce off. Hi V.
Yo, what's up, P? How are you feeling?
I have kind of the best, most satisfying news for you. It's gonna be super stupid.
No, whoa,
But
that's like the best way to start any conversation.
it's like the most validating evidence that people need to be listening to our podcast because it would arm them with very valuable knowledge. So, you know how I am obsessed with Fox reality competition shows?
Oh, you are? Weird, yeah.
There's one called The Floor. Do you watch The Floor? Oh my
Never,
God.
I never even heard of this.
Benita, it's so addicting. It's so frustrating. Rob Lowe is the host. And basically, there's like 100 people on this floor, and each one has an area of expertise. And they have to go up against each other in sort of this like quick like round of trivia where they have to name. So, like, one person on the floor can challenge someone else at their area of expertise. And so, this one woman ended up challenging a former Olympian whose area of expertise was Summer Olympics. And as an Olympian, you would imagine like he's probably a tough one to challenge. But she fucked up on the very last second of their duel on an image of people jumping over a hurdle into a puddle of water.
Tell me. Tell me you're talking about what I think you're talking about.
She goes, hurdles in water, and the whole time I'm like, steeplechase, you fucking idiot!
That should be like like in BDSM, you need some safe words.
Yeah,
Like
steeplechase.
steeplechase should
That's
100%
our
be
that's
like,
our safe word. Except we say it too often, so maybe not for us.
shit. Oh my God, so she lost.
She lost on that one.
Steeplechase.
Can you believe that? And if she had listened or even like looked at our Instagram once, she would know exactly what the fuck that is.
Listeners, we're here to like make you some fucking money, dude. That's what we're here for. I also can't believe that's where Rob Lowe's career has landed him at this day and age.
Can you not?
I mean, he was like a real heartthrob. I guess this
Yeah,
is where
yeah, yeah.
heartthrobs go. They just like host shit.
Yeah, I mean, you've talked about wanting to be a game show host. There's something required, like several things required about that I think he has. And it's like, it's appealing to like the middle-aged white lady crowd. Like his brand of kind of humor and banter is very much like, oh man, we are catering to the every woman of
Ugh.
America.
That's like, what is it, NBC or wherever it's airing? That's like what? That's their safety net. They love that shit.
Yeah, it's Fox, and Fox tends to take more risks. But yeah, with their like, I mean, this is also the network of The Masked Singer.
Also, that sounds like a dope show because it's
It's
like
really good.
trivia-esque, right? Like I love
It
that
was,
shit.
and it was actually on right after the Super Bowl. So I remember like people, like the TV was just left on, right? And all of the kids, like the teenagers at this party, were all like standing and like watching this and trying to name it. And meanwhile, I was back here like just busting out. And everyone's like, how do you do that? And I'm like, I know what's up, little
Ugh.
Gen Zs and Alphas.
I got the riz, as they
Yeah.
say. Oh my God.
Respect your elder millennial.
That is fucking awesome. I really listen, like go back and listen to our Olympic episode. We talk about steeplechase. If you don't know what we're talking about, I am continue to be bewildered by that sport and its
Yeah.
history.
Yeah. And it
So
was
funny.
enough to make it onto the fucking floor.
Fuck. The
Okay,
floor.
speaking of more TV and sports, I want to talk briefly about sports documentaries. We were starting to talk about this with Todd last week, and we specifically named that Michael Jackson one. Michael Jackson. Oh my God, Michael Jordan. You know what? I used to do that in the 90s a lot.
You're not the only person. Like the fact that you still do it though in 2025 is kind of awesome.
I have not moved on in any way. The thing about that MJ doc was that Todd said last week, he got petty with us into the camera. And it was awesome to see. And this like Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen drama is 30 years old, but it was like alive and well in that
Yes.
documentary.
Yes.
So, conversely, we started watching the new season of Full Swing.
I also started watching it yesterday.
Jesus Christ, like what a lovely nap I had.
Like they started the episodes with Scotty Scheffler.
And
Like,
they give Scotty Scheffler like a couple of sort of features, and then Rory, like the whole episode two was just like the bromance between Rory and Shane
Shane
Lowry, and
Lowry,
then Adam Hadwin and that other Canadian.
Nick Taylor.
Nick
Yeah.
Taylor. I'm like, I feel like I'm chewing on a wet rag right now. It just feels like what they are doing is so navel gazy, and
Mm.
it's clearly like that documentary is not the model that people should be following to get fans to be interested in the sport, because it feels esoteric. It feels like it still kind of like holds the bro club in its mind as it's telling these like very, very dull stories. And
Yes.
like they didn't like they teased in the season teaser Rory's divorce, which was like a very interesting story to me last year. Like it came out of nowhere. Everyone was like, what the fuck? There were
Yes.
rumors about him and Amanda Balionis, or whatever her name is, the golf commentator. She's one of the people who's consistently interviewed for this documentary, and nobody asked that question. And I'm like, where are the Bravo TV producers? Because they would be asking that question.
I think you're so right. I'm still confused on who the ideal viewer is
Yeah.
for this series. I mean, I haven't finished season 3, so I will say that. But that being said, to me, I think the goal is to get new viewers into the sport or get people really much more engaged so that when they do jump to watch a round, they're much more into it. Talk about a snooze fest, like legit what you said about a nap. Like I did fall asleep to it last night. The problem is, it still felt like you needed to be an insider to the golf
Yes.
world to really understand the storylines, and that is not accessible whatsoever.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and when I say it was navel gazing, I mean that, right? Like it's for itself, it's for its own community, and the kind of commentary and analysis we're getting is not really commentary or analysis. It's just sort of feeding you back all of like the masturbatory shit that people are talking about anyway. Like there was nothing new about it. I did the gesture, just so
God,
everyone
yeah,
knows.
if no one's watching this on YouTube right now, if you didn't know what masturbatory, the movements associated with it, P so lovely, lovingly demonstrated to us what this could look like. I continue.
I
Sorry.
remember, like, we've had so many conversations about golf and like where golf is headed and the LPGA that like have gotten me more excited. Like new players in the game, Asian American and Asian, I guess Australian also players in the game that, are cool. But this took me right back to stuffy, esoteric, like unaccessible and boring.
Correct. It didn't even feel, I don't know if there's a better word to be using, modern. It didn't,
Yes.
right? Like it still felt like it had, use the word stuffy, like it still felt like it was made with a more archaic, traditional, hierarchical lens that
Yes.
gets golf so criticized.
Yeah.
Whereas like, guys, you've got this format here to really be playful, to be off-brand, to highlight personalities of these players, and either the players don't have engaging personalities or they're
They
doing a really
don't.
shit job capturing them.
No, there's so much dryness, and it feels like their brand of personality or humor is so only for the other people, right? Like it just felt like, oh, that's not funny, entertaining, engaging, or anything like what these people are saying. And they themselves are laughing with each other. I was feeling this way when I saw the most recent TGL
Ah,
competition as well, where
uh-huh.
it was like the joking and the banter between them was just like, ugh, like it was just like so old man thinking they're funny kind of stuff. And I'm like, I know that we've got better than this. Are we just sanitizing this because we feel like we have to? because, like, what's the point then of doing any of these things that are meant to connect us to the real person? Someone in this documentary was like, golf is the most human, like, sport. And I'm like, no, it's the most robot sport.
Okay, here's what I will offer though, and they passed by it too quickly in that Rory Shane Lowry episode, which is they feature Shane going back to Ireland. I think they're about to play a round together. And Shane talks about how the sport of golf is more accessible in Europe, or at least in
In
Ireland,
Ireland,
than in the
yeah.
US. There's not the same country club feel to
Mm-hmm.
it. And when as soon as I heard that, I thought, oh, they should be doing this docuseries over there. I bet the
Mm-hmm.
fans are a lot more interesting, and there's some like incredible stories to share that have, probably spanned decades. I bet the players are a lot more loose because they don't have that culture that's been ingrained in them since they were so young playing, golf in North America. So
Yeah.
when he dropped that, I was like, "Oh, that's probably where the more interesting stories are." And I wish that they featured more of the international players in that way, or at least European.
I know we never get anything about the European tour. It's all PGA. And it seems like the European tour is something that we should be seeing more of,
Totally.
especially with like the Ryder Cup and the Olympics. Like, those are players that we know, and there's more of them. Yes, they're cracking their way over here, but it's like, let's meet them.
Yes. I mean, it wasn't that the last season of Full Swing was talking about how Europe beat the US in the Ryder
Yeah,
Cup,
in
and
the
it
Ryder Cup. Yeah.
incredibly huge deal. But god damn it, there was probably colorful language used. You know that there was
Yes.
hilarious shit, and then like none of that was there. It didn't really feel like they were storytelling a European team in that. And I have to say, Pete, I don't know if I'm gonna last all of season 3 for this.
I don't think so. I think we made it to episode 4. We made it to the Olympics episode because I wanted to see that. And
Yes.
then we made it past like Scotty's stupid arrest and like Rory's like non-story divorce, and like that's probably all I'm going to be able to devote to this.
Okay, that's fair. I do want to see the Olympics episodes, so maybe I'll make
Yeah,
it the same. And
it's cool. Like, and that's a cool family. It's Min Jin Lee and Min Woo Lee. They're brother sister from Australia. They're both Asian players. So it was cool to see them play together and like how differently, like, she's fucking legit. That's the other thing.
legit.
His
Yes.
her brother's really fun, and like I'm glad they focused on him, and it was sort of like, oh, will he, won't he? But like, who is this fucking stud? Like, who is Min Jin Lee? Fuck.
Yeah.
She fucking rules.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Like, are they actually like really fun personalities, but the format of the docuseries and this lens has just watered everyone fucking down and made them that boring? Or
I No, I think that Minwoo Lee is maybe the embodiment of something here, which is that he's newer. You know, like, yes, his family has been in the golf world, but he's like newer to the PGA. And I think that newness is what the PGA needs, because after a
mm,
while, it seems like everyone, all the veterans, start to morph into the same person a little bit, and like they all have the same stupid jokes and the same sense of humor, and they all hang out with each other, and they all live in like fucking Jupiter, Florida, which I can imagine is just like a soulless place. So it's just, I think it's that. I think like the golf world or the golf machine can probably suck people in and then like completely deplete them of their uniqueness.
I think you're right. I think that's part of golf culture's goal, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yes. Yeah.
Which
Conformity.
conformity, which is disgusting, and at the same time, dare I say, probably like white supremacist lens.
Yeah.
And there's probably consequences in small and big ways if that conformity doesn't happen. It could be as simple as a look that you get. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? It could be exclusion in some more explicit way. But I
Mm-hmm.
just can't help but think that that exists for a reason, and it has yet to be dismantled.
Yeah, like people are rewarded for being in these in groups, as we learned in season 2, when that's how that guy chose the Ryder Cup US team, right? It was just his buddies.
Yep.
And
Yep.
if you're not friends with those guys, then you're out.
So fucked up. Golf related, Steve Williams was Tiger Woods' caddy for about 12 years, and together they won 13 majors. and he has a new book coming out.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know, on April 1st, and I already pre-ordered it because of course I did. It's called, get ready, Together We Roared.
Oh, wow.
I know, what editor finagled that one in there? Jesus. But apparently it is supposed to offer some fresh context into what their dynamics were. I'm sure there's nothing incredibly juicy there because of all the NDAs, but I realize as my interest and support for Tiger Woods drops, this is like another interesting way to still somewhat stay connected to that era of golf, which is learn about it through a caddy's perspective. And caddies, let me just say, they're like overlooked. They're incredible at what they do. They are incredibly important to the success of a player. And in some ways, I almost want to read it just to more appreciate what the role of a
What they do.
caddy. Yeah.
They did have an episode about the caddies, and it was Sahith's caddy and Scotty's caddy that they focused on, and I did like that. Like the fact that these guys, especially Scotty's caddy, is like making so much money, but he still like stays in the same Airbnb as the other caddies. Like that episode wasn't bad because I also love seeing Sahith, but it was just like we're still not getting anything from them. But I agree, like God, the sanitized. We're not going to get the juice from that book, but I hope he does focus on his own learning, like how he became the expert that he became. Like that's interesting stuff.
Absolutely. And from a, performance perspective or even like mental agility, how important he was to keeping Tiger grounded in some of these
Mm-hmm.
really tough moments. I'm just so curious to hear what skill sets he leaned into and what are the tools that he used in that way. So I hope I learned something, but I'll give you a quick review when I do end up reading it.
What do you think? Because like you're sort of in and around the sports psychology world. What role do you think they play that is different or similar to a sports psychologist for a golfer?
I think I mean obviously caddies, I don't expect them to have near the training as a sports psychologist would have in terms of
Right.
helping players understand the why behind what some of the struggles are that they have. What I do think a caddy can do, because you want to leverage the fact that they're physically with them at every single shot, is they're probably a great reminder of whatever tool or skill that player wants to be digging into. Probably helps them bounce, back from whatever bad shot they just had and keep
Mm-hmm.
them really focused and in the present. And I really do think that that's one of the major roles that caddies play, but I have to be honest, Pete. I don't know a lot about the role of caddies. I caddied once and I made $100 and it was awesome. When I was in high school at the Edmonton Open. But that's actually partially why I want to read this book, is to
Mm-hmm.
not only understand the role of a caddy and like be able to speak to it probably in a more interesting way than any of us have ever heard about it, but also just again from our like mental health perspective, how to leverage the presence of a caddy.
I think it was in that caddy episode that maybe it was Scotty's caddy who was like, we have to be so many things to them. We have to be, carrying their clubs. We have to be the psychologists. I'm like, no, I can tell you that you are not a
You're not.
psychologist unless you are in fact a caddy with a PhD.
Yeah, no one's asking to be a
You're no,
psychologist.
this like bugs me so much just generally when people are like, oh yeah, I have to be like a therapist. I'm like everybody's therapist. I'm like, I talk to my friends, I'm like their therapist. And I'm like, oh yes, did you also undergo the 6 to 8 years of training?
Oh my God. I once had a hairstylist who spoke about it in this way.
Yeah.
I ended up firing her because I actually didn't love the way that she talked about it. But
Yeah.
I get it. People vent to you, people share things, but that's not therapy. Like
No.
anyway,
No, it's
yeah.
emotional labor for sure.
Yes,
And
yes.
no, therapy, like, please do not water down or denigrate what therapy has to be in order for it to be therapy. That was a side tangent. But the other thing that bothered me, but there was another thing that was interesting that bothered me about this docuseries, which was that there was a moment, I think it might have been in the first episode, where it's like, yeah, as a golfer, you get to play with all kinds of people, politicians, and it was like, I think it was Ludwig Oberg or one of them playing with Donald Trump. And that was sort of one of the moments where I was like, what is this docuseries?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's not a politician, right? Like that
Facts,
means
P.
something. And like, I don't, it was like in this sort of weirdly glorifying way of like, oh, look, I get to play with people like this. And it's like, that's not something that I would like openly be like, so cool, right? Like, we talked about that with Tiger and Charlie too.
Right,
Like,
right.
what? So that
But
moment was just like, what?
the golf world would tout that shit. That is
I know.
so, they're so fucking out to lunch. Like the whole professional sport needs some rebranding. I'm looking to like how the NBA looked to the WNBA to have a
Hmm.
backbone, to have morals and values.
Yeah.
I'm really looking to the LPGA as they change some things around this year to actually be that as well.
Yeah. Okay, preach. I can't wait for that.
I
Let's do
can't.
it. V. We need
P.
to just talk. We need to just
Yes.
talk.
Can we? I'm
Yeah.
dying to talk about it.
Okay, just say what you need to say. I have some questions.
I also have some questions. First of all, the Four
Your
Nations
question,
face-off.
your questions are gonna be mean, aren't they?
I'm gonna try to approach this conversation with an open mind and curiosity. I'm gonna try. We'll see how it goes. Let me just say, incredible game. I'm so glad I went to overtime. That makes every game more interesting.
Yes, and like it was just back and forth, back and forth.
100%. I do feel like Canada really needed it. I do feel like we really needed that win for many reasons.
Tell me, can you tell me more about that, please?
Yes. Hockey is so
It's yours.
stereotypically, yes, but it
Hmm.
is like a central part of the identity of a Canadian. And right now, in a time where it feels like we don't have a lot of control over our identity or our reputation or kind of getting bullied around what it should be, it felt like a nice sense of ownership and
Yeah.
control. But what has come out of it has been even more juicy for me.
Oh, oh. Am I aware of this?
You probably are, or maybe not aware of the commentary, but I will tell you off the top, at the start of the game, I had a real bad taste in my mouth, P,
Because of Wayne Gretzky.
because of fucking Wayne Gretzky.
That was going to be one of my questions to you. Like, Canada is so anti-US and anti-Trump right now. Canada is so pro hockey and they're like the lore and legends of Canadian hockey. Are Canadians currently burning all of their Wayne Gretzky memorabilia?
There is so much backlash right now about the choice of having Wayne Gretzky as an honorary captain. Yes. There's a petition. So in Edmonton, where obviously Wayne had most of his storied career, they've named the street Wayne Gretzky Drive after him. There's a petition at City Council to change the name. People are, because what I do for fun is I like to look at the haters' comments on Instagram and on social media. And if you look at Wayne's most recent post, there's shit like, what would your father say? Because his father was,
Yeah.
a big part of his career.
I think one of the criticisms I read about him coming on was just how lackluster he was. Like Eruzione came on after that and he had all this energy and
So
he was just
much.
like hyping up the crowd and the team. And Wayne Gretzky just kind of like comes out like he's too important for this and gives like a wave and then leaves.
I think he fucking knew exactly what was going to happen. Listen, everyone knew the tensions going in. He's clearly one of Canada's top figures when we think about pop culture and sports. But he came out not wearing red, not wearing Canadian
Mm-hmm.
colors. Like he looked
Mm-hmm.
very businessy, like you said.
Just like in a suit or something, yeah.
The whole thing was I don't know who got to choose who the honorary captain was. What made it feel even worse was just I think yesterday, the men's Canadian soccer coach, who is an American guy, just was like, it's embarrassing. As an American, it's embarrassing. Let me tell you, being in Canada, here's what I've learned about Canadians. And he was like, you got to stop this 51st state shit. Like, he just was such
Aw.
an advocate, and he's not even Canadian. And I
Wow.
was like, Wayne, give me that energy, bro.
Right,
Like,
right.
where is this shit? So here's how this plays currently into what's happening in the NHL, which is Alexander Ovechkin is, at the time of recording this, 12 goals away from surpassing Wayne Gretzky's goal record. Everybody wants him to break it.
And he's like a fucking Russian.
You know you have a problem when, like, let's talk about Petty. I want all his fucking records broken.
Yeah, yep.
I want his fucking statue taken down from in front of the
Hmm.
arena in my hometown. He does not stand for Canadian values. I don't want him representing Canada in any way. And truthfully, we didn't need him as an honorary captain. Like, I still am kind of bewildered by that choice. So, yeah, what I say what's coming out of that game is really juicy is the amount of backlash that's existing because of Wayne Gretzky's and that choice.
I would imagine that a lot of people are sort of heartbroken about it, but it sounds like maybe the heartbreak is being overshadowed by like pure anger right now.
Yes, because it's so fresh, right?
Yeah, yeah. And like he was kind of egregious. It's not just that like, oh, does he sit on the wrong side of history and now I have to grapple with that. It was like he came out and disappointed Canada.
100%. People like really these comments are actually worth looking at if you ever want to look at the hater comments
Yes,
under
love.
his account. But it's people were like, "Oh, Rain, what's the red you wanted to wear? Your mega hat, bro."
Yeah, yeah.
And like just the most amazing commentary and overwhelmingly unsupportive of him.
Hmm.
Like once in a while you get someone who's like, "Don't worry, like the US still loves you," and blah blah. Like it's not even. This is not even what it's about, people. But
Also, that
whew,
matters zero. It doesn't matter.
it doesn't.
Fuck that.
It really doesn't matter. And
Who
excuse me, but
cares?
like when DJT has to tweet out or whatever a statement, which he did this morning in support of you, and to tell people to lay off
This morning,
this
this game
morning.
happened a week ago.
I know. And this morning
Wow.
there was like a like he had to come and like defend him. And I was like, this is so
Yikes. That's bad.
ridiculous. Yeah, Trudeau's not gonna come out and fucking defend you, dude. It's not
No,
happening.
you have just, is Canada allowing people to voluntarily renounce their status like we are? Because that's about to be you, bro.
Okay, so here's the other thing that's come out of it. I'm wondering, going into the Olympics next year, if Team USA is trying to embrace some sort of villain status in this
Oh.
story.
Already?
Okay, there are a few of these younger players that were on Team USA that ruffled a lot of feathers, like pissed people off in some of their media interviews.
Like the Kachucks?
Always the fucking like Brady Kachuk and his I'm so sorry, like troll face. But okay, Trevor Zegras, let's just talk about him. He was asked in one interview about Canada's legacy and if the US sees themselves as the underdogs. His response. Under what rock are you living if you still think Canada owns hockey? Like, cool, your dad's team was good. It's 2025, we run this show.
Look, he's semi being accurate there because of the sheer growth of Americans in the league. Like it used to be Canadians overwhelmingly populated the league, and now it's kind of close.
Okay, so I appreciate that. I'm going to read three more quotes your way, P, from
Okay,
Team
okay.
USA players.
Okay.
And this is actually the question I want you to chew on, which is this just trash talking or does this land into a little bit of like that's just like disrespectful and not relevant to this?
Okay.
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 Okay, the second one is Jack Hughes. He does a post-scrimmage interview, and this one is about Sweden. So Hughes gets asked if the US respects Sweden's more methodical, patient style. They have a different style of hockey. And Hughes goes, respect it, sure, but like this isn't a chess tournament. If you want to dump and chase for 60 minutes, go for it. We'll be over here scoring goals.
That's funny. That's funny.
So this, of course, as you can imagine, hits European media, and Swedish outlets are like American ignorance, and then US media was like, this is the swagger we've been missing. They're like eating this shit up. Okay. That's the
I don't
second.
think we miss that kind of swagger. I think that's pretty prevalent. But I don't think there's anything about that. I think that's an appropriate amount of pre or post game shit talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So here goes Brady Kachuk.
Okay.
After they announce that, Gretzky is going to be
Oh
the
no.
ceremonial captain or whatever.
Oh no.
The Kachucks never censor themselves, but he goes, it's cute. I guess if you need a museum exhibit to pump up your room, go off. We'll stick with guys who can still skate.
Wait, does Canada love that kind of though?
So now we love it.
Yes.
Absolutely. Like, I'm just like, great. Let's just dog on Gretzky as much as we can.
Yeah.
You fucking called him a museum exhibit, dude. Like,
That's amazing. That's really good.
it's like freakishly good,
Yeah.
actually. Oh
These
my God.
guys are like people writing this material for
I
them.
know. I'm like, do they get trained in this shit?
It's so funny.
And it's like all they're like younger players too. So I wonder if there is, I don't know, some generational shit. But
Mm.
last one, Cole Caulfield, he's asked a question about Canada's hockey mecca reputation in quotes. This is on ESPN. They did a sit down interview. And so they asked him, like, do you feel nervous in Canada? There's so much, history in the air and you're playing here. This is when they're in Montreal. And he goes, nervous? No. It's funny they still call themselves the center of hockey when we've had the best league and the best players for like 30 years.
That's gonna sting.
So, P, all of these comments, I like literally pulled them out because I was like, what's happening here? They're like, I really was like, this wasn't just to Team Canada. There were to other teams where there's, some of these comments. And I thought, oh, do you want to go in being known as like the villain
The
into the
assholes.
Olympics? Like, that's what
Yeah.
it really feels like. A, is that how you see it, P? And is that actually maybe going to work to their advantage? And B, those comments, as you think about it, was that just trash talking or does it run into something else?
Well, I mean, it definitely tracks with like the American superiority complex,
Sure. Yes.
especially right now. I think,
I know America, like
um,
the US is so insecure right now, and excuse me, I feel really like, when someone's insecure and you can see from a mile away and you just are watching them just self implode.
okay, I don't think these guys in those comments are giving insecure.
Okay, okay. Fair.
I
Totally
think
fair.
these guys they played aggressive games throughout that whole Four Nations face-off, and the dudes like the Kachucks, those are dudes that seem pretty happy with themselves in general. So no,
Very.
I don't think
Okay.
that that comes from a place of insecurity. I did also feel like the US could really use this win because of like how these tensions have been presenting themselves and how good that win in Montreal felt. But I don't know, like does this I don't think I think this feels on brand. Like the US is
Okay.
always the villain, I think, especially in like recent history. So this just feels like yeah, adding fuel to that fire, but that fire is like burning hot already.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I really don't remember. I'm trying to think about the 2010 Olympics when Canada also won in overtime. Sidney Crosby goal. Literally, the shirt that I'm wearing right now is from the 2010 Olympics.
Fucking Sidney Crosby.
I really don't remember them having this villain-esque brand to them. Like, certainly we wanted to beat Team USA, but I don't remember other teams and other international media outlets criticizing American identity, saying things like American ignorance. I don't remember players saying shit like this in interviews.
Hmm.
So this wasn't like an Olympics interview, right? There's probably going to be a different level of professionalism, you would hope, next year. But damn, if that didn't make me feel going into the Olympics next year like, you'll fuck this team, fuck these guys. Let's fucking tear their asses up again.
I wonder what the story was in what it would have been 2006, like after our whole like weapons of mass destruction
Mm.
freedom fries thing.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Like, because that was another era that I feel like the US was a villain in the
Yes.
world.
Yes.
I didn't feel that way about the Summer Olympics, right? And that was because we were still in like the Biden era, maybe.
You're
I
right.
like
You're
I
right.
was like wholeheartedly like, wow, this is very heartening to see us win this much. And then now it's just like, no, we should probably lay low.
Oh my God. Like, I don't think the US could float on that big ass boat down the Seine again this time without like hella security.
Yeah,
On
totally.
like I'm not even kidding. I think it would be different.
Let's see. That'll be really interesting to see how the whole US team takes shape or how hockey maybe takes shape differently from the rest of the US team. These comments that you that you just gave me, I'm sort of here for. I love when people are actually honest in interviews and actually throw some shit down versus just giving you the same like puff fluff bullshit.
I think I agree with you, P. I actually think that's also why maybe the Four Nations face off worked. Because it's
Yes.
just casual enough of a nature here that those could be the interviews that we pull out of this shit. I don't think we'll see that same thing next year with the Olympics. I really don't. But to
Yeah.
know this is really how they're feeling, ugh.
It's so refreshing in contrast to the fucking full swing.
Fuck. Oh my God. Exactly. Seriously, exactly. And even the NBA, like you
Yeah,
can talk
go
about like
ahead.
the viewership numbers and just
Yeah.
the smashing success that this format was for the NHL.
And the memes that came out of it were like NBA, like, oh, I hurt my ankle. And the NHL, meanwhile, like, I'm about to fucking die for my country.
Yeah, we have 9 seconds, bro. Let's fuck each other up. Like,
Yeah.
just mad respect. I really think this format, the NHL, the players got a lot of respect from other leagues, from fans. And I would even say, even things like the current news, the current storyline of Ovechkin, can he beat Gretzky's record? I think even that has more engagement now post
Yeah.
Four Nations
Post
Face
this
Off than
rivalry.
before. Okay, do you have any more questions for me, P, about the Four Nations Face Off?
One more.
Okay.
I didn't realize in the first USA Canada game, the one that was in Canada, that yes, the national anthem got booed. Someone else got booed too, V. And I just saw this video, and it was Michelle fucking Kwan. And I don't know. Maybe you can ask Patrick about this. But if you are booing the national anthem in protest, I might have some feelings after a while, but I get it. Now you're booing Michelle Kwan. I don't think I can get behind that. And it like to be fair, it was Michelle Kwan is here to like introduce the US team. So, sure, they were booing the team, but they booed over her. They booed her.
I think it could have been anyone, P, and they would have booed.
But like as Canadians, don't you have to show respect for winter sports?
Yes, but she's a US champion introducing a US team on Canadian soil. It could have been, I'm not even kidding, it could have been anyone, and they would have gotten booed. I
It,
understand. I understand Michelle Kwan is like probably one of the nicest
she's
people of all time, and I've never
literally
seen her do
America's sweetheart.
I've never seen her do anything terrible or disrespectful at all. But I hope she knows, much like the national anthem singers, it's not about her. We're not booing Michelle Kwan, P. We're
That's what
not
people were
booing her.
saying, V.
Okay, well then vote differently next time, god damn it, if you love Michelle Kwan so much.
You heard that, everyone. 50% of the popular vote. You heard that.
Like if really if figure skating fans are coming at it, wanting to protect Michelle Kwan, if that's what it takes in these midterm elections to shift things, I'm all about it. Let's play the
Okay,
Michelle Kwan card.
that's going to be the midterm campaigns.
That's
Justice for Michelle Kwan.
fucking awesome. Also, she looked great. Like she just looked
I love
lovely.
her.
I do too. I do too. I really do. I felt bad. I felt bad for her, but In the end, I didn't feel bad, and it was like the best OT celebration. And to have Connor McDavid score, it's just the
Yeah.
the last
Yeah.
winner was like Sidney Crosby. It did feel like a bit of passing the torch. So
I'm glad we're talking about this a week later because I did feel like a whole lot of weird feelings afterward. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this with V yet.
I was ready to record our episode right after the game. Let's fucking go. My testosterone levels were probably off the charts, dude.
Well, I'm glad that Canada got the win that they needed emotionally.
Thank you. We did. We still need it. We need all the wins we can
We need
get.
a huge win, V. We are drowning. We are circling a fucking toilet right now.
Yeah, but you all asked for it. We didn't ask for it, so we
We
get the
didn't ask
win.
for it. I didn't ask for it.
I know
I
you
didn't
did.
ask for it. My parents were immigrants, man.
I know, especially women of color. I know y'all didn't ask for it. Black women, 94% of
No.
you. Ugh. Um, okay, let me tell you about a real goat, not Wayne Gretzky. Do you know who Diana Taurasi is?
No.
Okay, this is important that you don't know her because she is the all-time leading scorer in WNBA history. She's a six-time Olympic gold medalist, and she just this week announced her retirement from the WNBA after 20 years. And she is the GOAT of the WNBA. But what's interesting is a lot of people still don't know about her.
Yeah.
And that just tells you, I think, a lot about what the majority of the WNBA has faced, in their presence. But dude, she's had record number of points. She's hit more three-pointers than anyone in the WNBA. She has won 3 WNBA championships. Like she played in Russia, she played in Turkey. She is personally like I adore her. There was an interview where she called herself a kind asshole, and I just relate to that so much.
Hmm.
And probably how I would describe myself. But it made me want to ask you, if Tarasi was playing in today's like social media era, would her legacy actually be bigger? Or is there something else about why this isn't really getting the fanfare that it would if the GOAT of another professional sports league was retiring?
What years was she active?
2005 to 2025 or 2004 to 2024.
Oh shit, 20 years?
20 years. Dude, she's 42.
Wow.
Yeah, she's incredible. And yet, there was like Time Magazine did a story on her because like it's a big deal for women's sports for sure and for the WNBA absolutely. But I feel like outside of that circle, I don't know if anyone would know her name.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because she did overlap with a lot of the social media era. I just don't know what her public persona was and if that was like
Blunt.
maybe more.
She's got a more blunt, brash style to her for sure.
But that should be really appealing.
I loved it. I think a lot of
Yeah.
people did, but you're right. Yeah.
Well, also, I think we're determining that like the mainstream world or sports fans at large didn't start caring about the WNBA until like last year. And if that was like the end of her career, then no one got to really get to know her.
Totally. Totally. If you watched in the last 5 years, you saw her past her peak and probably didn't even see her like play as many minutes as she used to, right?
Hmm.
But I wanted to name it because it's always a controversy on who's the GOAT of whatever sport. But
Yeah.
I would claim that she's the greatest WNBA player of all time. People love Cheryl Swoops. There's like other players. And it makes me sad to think that she's probably walking out with like $10 in savings and not the sponsorships, marketing deals, commercials, and things that you could if you were still that draw, but now you can move into making income another way. So it
Yeah.
made me think about that phenomenon again of like if you're a retired player or an injured player and you're a female athlete, talk about, last week we talked about already the pay being shit when you're active. Imagine the transition when you're now inactive. Ugh.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's shitty.
it is shitty. It is shitty, but I just wanted to shout her out and shout that out because it's a big deal.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, people love a goat. So I don't know. Maybe she needed a new marketing team.
I do. I know. I know. Oh my God. Side note about goat. Simone Biles has like been on a safari or something, is on a break with her husband. She
Amazing.
she she posted a selfie of herself beside a goat, and like I think the caption was like twins.
Ah, she's so good. I love her.
So good. I was like, you could just go ahead and call yourself that. That
She
checks
just
out.
like wears that goat necklace. Like, you know what? Take it. Get it.
Fuck, I would too. I'd get that shit tattooed, dude. I'd be
Yeah.
all over it.
Speaking of her lovely husband, who's in the NFL, I saw now post Eagles winning the Super Bowl that there has been a petition started by the Packers wanting to ban the tush push. And like, I'm sure that there's like a lot of sore loserdom around this. First of all, anyone is allowed to do the tush push. It's not just like an Eagles patented move.
Right. They
But
just do it
some
so
of
fucking well.
they do it, it's part of their strategy and it has been working for them fine. Part of like the argument in the petition is that it's actually unsafe. It can be detrimental to the safety of the players, and I'm like, I don't understand how that is any more detrimental than anything else they're doing on the field necessarily.
Bullshit. Yeah, I call bullshit. I don't think I've ever seen an injury be suffered from the tush push, legitimately. Like, I really don't think so. That's some pet. That's like, come on,
And like
Packers.
Green Bay, like you weren't even close.
Yeah, why are they?
Like, why are you doing this right now?
No, seriously, why is that? They think that somehow this would like dismantle the success of the Eagles if they could no longer do the brotherly shove, as I've also
Yeah,
heard it called.
God. It's so, it feels so like weird and pouty. Like,
That is weird. What is behind that? You know what? I'm sure if we like looked up who the owners are and traced some lineage to
yeah,
something, there's like
the
some fucking
backroom allegiances. And I wonder who else is like signing on to this petition too. Everyone.
everyone. I almost
Why
like can't
don't
even
you
give this the time of
petition?
day. Like this
Right,
is
like
so ridiculous.
it would be nice to petition to ban exploitation or to ban racism in like coaching staff hiring or to ban moves that get people CTE. What about
Yeah.
what about
Oh,
any of that?
oh my gosh. Actually, do you know the latest headline around CTE?
No.
Okay. Hockey legend Bobby Hull. When he died, his family donated his brain to, I think it's like in Boston where they have that like CTE center. And the researchers this week confirmed he did in fact have CTE.
Oh man.
For folks who don't know it, it's a degenerative brain disease and basically linked to repeated head trauma. So not only does this add him to this like growing list of hockey legends, but most of the time we think about CTE with football, and I think that's been where most of the research has been. Okay, so great. They find out that he had all these concussions probably when he was playing, and his family had suspected it, I guess, for a while, which is why they donated his brain. But now there's this whole new debate, as what happens when we find this out, about hockey culture.
Mm-hmm.
What's the NHL's responsibility? And how do we talk about the long term cost of being like a legendary player? So I have a question for you, P, around this because hockey, much like football, loves this like warrior culture. Does CTE force the sport of hockey now to rethink its entire identity, or does hockey just, like the NFL, bury this? You know, the NFL buried it for years. So there's that piece of it of just like, what does this do to a sport and its identity when you realize what's core to it is actually ruining lives? The second piece this kind of fucks up with me is from a fan perspective. Do I, as a fan, even care about CTE when the hits are exciting? You know, when you're fucking watching hockey, we just talked about 3 fights in 9 seconds. When there's like a big open ice hit, you hear the crowd rally around that. So, as a fan, do you think concussion? Or do you start to think, that's hockey, baby. That's just the way things go. I have to say, since the CTE shit came out with football, every time I can hear the helmet on helmet, I think concussion. I do not think that's football, baby. And now, of course, I'm like wondering how is this impacting my experience as a fan now when I watch hockey?
I mean, I can't help but think that the NHL has been burying this for a long time because if you think of it from like this PR perspective, when we think CTE, we have the automatic association to the NFL. Maybe it's because of that movie. Maybe it's just because of how many head injuries we've seen on television. But the NHL, I don't know if it's because they do that like weird upper body, lower body injury announcement where they don't really tell you what their injuries are.
Uh-huh.
Somehow CTE has not become synonymous with the NHL the way it has with football. And so I think it's so much easier as a fan to suspend your disbelief about the damage to these players. I have told you, whether it's on a football field or on an ice rink, when I hear or see a hit, I am immediately like, ugh, head,
Yes.
concussion.
Yes.
Even when they're like punching each other in the head, I'm kind of like, can we take this to the ground? Like I don't want people getting hit in the head. I've had a concussion before and maybe like that trauma in my
Mm.
mind is what makes me super like hyper aware of other people's heads and their head trauma. So, yes, I'm always thinking about it and I think that if hockey changed cuz like I've seen a lot of videos of women's hockey players saying they wish that they could hit like they do in the men's league
Right.
because maybe that's just maybe the most effective defense or offense, but I don't need the hits to enjoy the game. In fact, the hits really stress me out in both sports.
I'm with you. I think there are ways to do lower body hits or other types of hits that are still send the message or still whatever. I think keep integrity to the game. But man, I do it screams concussion for me when I see that shit.
Yeah.
I I do make CTE jokes. Like it's terrible, but I do when I'm watching football. And I've been told by other friends who I'm watching football with that that like is a boner killer for them when we're
Yeah.
watching sports as I like mention CTE. But like I'm going to zoom out here and get real deep for a second because I don't think CTE is just a sports story. I just think it's the culture that we're in, right? We glamorize burnout at work. We reward
Mm.
people who grind through sickness, grind through exhaustion. And I
Hmm.
can't help but feel like aren't athletes just a reflection of how we treat all workers? Like we cheer them on as they grind through that shit?
Yeah, especially with hockey players, because there's this like very clear distinction between like NBA and soccer players being like babies and being prima donnas. And then it's like, well, the hockey players are the real men, right? They're the ones who are like losing a tooth, spitting it out, and then getting back on the ice. And like that happens all the time. And like, I guess one of the things that you can't really change about hockey is that some of these concussions happen as a result of just like a player being in the way of a puck. And like,
Right,
I
right,
don't know what you can really do about that.
right.
But yeah, those kinds of hits to the head happen, and everyone's like, yeah, go hockey players. This is why they rule. This is why they have the hot girlfriends. Like, because everyone associates them with like, they're respectable in their athleticism because they don't complain.
Right. But I would even say, P, that extends to like your everyday like office worker
A
or
hundred
the,
percent. Yeah, you
the
get
person.
rewarded for not complaining, for sure. Yeah.
That's it. That's exactly it. And so I can't imagine that your average fan is going to be like, oh, ooh, concussion, like he should take a break when we ourselves don't even say that to the work that we're doing.
You know how you're always talking about age and athletes?
I am.
Well, Red Foo, former LMFAO member,
Oh my
has
God, I'm sexy and I know it. Like those guys.
those guys.
Oh my God, I haven't thought about those guys or that song in a very long time.
I love that song. It was so 2013. But he is making his pro tennis debut at the age of 49.
What?
Yeah,
Already
I don't,
hashtag goals. Oh my God, I love this
right?
so much.
It just is like so affirming. Like it's never too late to do something.
Oh my God. Okay. Wow. So many questions. Like, was he
He
really just
must
good
have,
at tennis before, like his whole life? And
he has to qualify in some way.
is he still going by the name Red Foo on the tennis circuit?
On the tennis. I really hope so.
Holy shit. I actually love this a lot for so many reasons. A, I love like celebrating players in their 40s because that is no joke. But we often talk about, again, let's zoom out to the average worker, like the career shift, the identity shift, the like you just said, Pete, is it too late to try XYZ?
Fuck no.
Yeah, here's a dude who's like, fuck it. I know you know
Yeah.
me for this song. In fact, it might be his walkout song. I don't
Yeah,
know.
let's make that your walkout song forever.
Just lean the fuck into it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, and he's clearly good enough. Wow, dude. I'm like actually like highly impressed by this.
So, V, which sport are you gonna get into so that you can make your pro debut before you hit 50?
Curling is what
Yeah,
it would
no,
be.
that's a good one. Yeah.
I find a lot of people at least are seemingly out of shape in that sport and
You have to have some flexible
for
hips and
sure.
hamstrings.
For sure. And I feel like my hips are doing great and I
Great.
feel like I'm really good at sweeping.
Yeah. Oh, the sweeping roll.
Yeah, like harder like that. I think I'd be really great at that. Have I ever played before? No. But I do feel like because I'm Canadian, I have to have some advantage where it just like naturally might come to me if I hit the ice. What's your sport? What would be your
I think the best shot I have is archery.
no pun intended.
Oh, I'm such a genius.
I would fucking love to see that.
Okay, I have one more piece of news for you, which is
Okay.
interesting. We talk a lot about the business of sports, and one big piece of the business of sports, a big driver of income for sports teams and leagues, is broadcasting rights.
Right.
So it was just determined that ESPN and MLB have not come to an agreement for renewing ESPN's broadcasting rights. ESPN wanted them for cheaper, and MLB got all offended. And this has been a league, I think, notoriously that has made it a little bit hard for networks to have broadcasting rights. They only do like regional and local channels. There are channels just devoted, like the Yes Network in New York was just devoted to the Yankees.
Right.
So it seems like MLB broadcasting rights are probably pretty expensive, and that this is a league that maybe gatekeeps the ability to broadcast. No one network has all the rights to broadcast. So ESPN does want to, now that, because they're talking about launching a whole new service, right? And they're going to need way more content. And
Right.
so it would be helpful for the ESPN to just be able to broadcast every baseball game that's happening all summer. But as of now, TBS, Fox, and ESPN all have contracts that expire in 2028 with the MLB.
Okay.
Will be
Whoa.
interesting to see what happens after that.
What a like coordinating mess for your contract lawyers.
I know, dude.
Truly, just think about how different each of those contracts must look and the rules to abide by, things we don't think about.
I know all of like the entertainment business news that's been coming out recently between mergers and like consolidating streaming platforms and leadership seat changes and all of the shit that these networks are doing and studios are doing to get back in the black. It affects the city of LA, it affects me and my entertainment business dreams. It's also affecting sports. Like this stuff is everywhere. It's touching everything.
That shit is stressful.
It's so stressful.
I
It's
mean,
making me really
honestly,
sad.
because I think part of it is now as I think about how much these systemic changes just trickle down and impact the individual person,
Yeah.
right? The people who kind of get played as pawns during all of this uncertainty is
Yeah.
really heartbreaking.
Right. Consumers, fans, athletes, I'm sure. I mean, I don't know. The MLB pays their athletes pretty well too, but it's
Yeah.
not fair to the fans for sure. It's always been really frustrating to try to watch games that you want to watch.
Yep. Especially MLB. Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I get your hot take on one more thing?
Yes.
Okay. I want you to think about what is the right way to react when fans trash talk you, but it crosses the line to offensive. So we played with this question a little bit with our hockey players from Team USA, but I want to play a video for you, P, really quickly. It's just a short clip, and you'll be able to hear the audio, listeners.
Okay.
This is from, I think, last year, now an ex-Milwaukee Bucks player, Patrick Beverley. He is being sued, I'll just give you context, being sued by two female fans. And they're claiming that they suffered injuries after he basically threw a basketball towards their faces from like a very, very, very close range. I want to show you the video of it, and then I'll just share a little bit more context and ask you about it. But here is the video. And again, just want you to see what goes down in it. His claim is that these fans weren't just trash talking, it actually was borderline. It was actually quite offensive, he said. And he couldn't even say it in the post game interview what they said to him, and he didn't want
Okay.
to. So here's where we're at. They throw a ball back to him, quickly throws it back. And you see a girl here.
Yeah.
She had a ball thrown to her, and then another girl back there had a ball thrown.
How did they have balls?
Great question. I think somehow it's from him. He threw it
Okay.
at them. Then that you see a
They
guy
threw it
throw it back
back
to him, and then he throws it
and he
again.
like slams it at them.
Yeah, a second time. He at the end of the game, he apologized and he said, "I need to do better." But he did say that they really crossed a line, and he didn't want to repeat what was said. Apparently, he also even talked to the Indiana Pacers head coach to mention, like, hey, like your fans are saying this shit. So in this scenario, P, now we have the fans who are suing him and saying that they have injuries from this ball being tossed towards them. As a player, you're in a tough spot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so what was the right way for him to react in this scenario when what he's claiming that what they said was quite offensive to him?
I mean, like from this video too, it looks like he was in the middle of just like being on the sideline and focusing on the game, and a ball comes out of nowhere toward him, and it almost felt reflexive what he did. Because, like, if a ball comes at you from a place where it's not supposed to be coming, that's exactly how I would react, especially if he was already on edge because of whatever it was they were saying. So I don't necessarily fault him for what I've seen in this video here. I call bullshit on the injury as well. It doesn't really seem like it did anything, but yeah, that's sad. I mean, when you're a public figure, you're just like so scrutinized and you have to be so above board, and like it's hard to be that way all the time, especially we've talked so much about like being in game mode. Like that's not necessarily a time where you're going to be able to emotionally regulate when something outside the game is happening.
100%. And I can't help but say, in case you didn't see the video, this is a black basketball player and the two women are white who were in the
Hmm.
audience. So of course my mind spins on what maybe some of the
What they're
comments
saying.
were.
Yep.
And
Hmm.
it just sucks that he even has to say, like, I'm sorry, I know I need to do better, but these comments, you're in a shit position as an athlete. And what I'm really hoping is that these female fans don't give female fans a bad fucking name and a
Right,
bad rep.
right. Or
Like,
start like a pattern of like lawsuits based on nothing.
yes, of course, it hurts when it happens, but like they're really claiming some mental anguish shit. And listen, I'm all for like believe women. But when you see this video and you think about probably all the other dynamics at play here, I just don't want this story to end up pissing me off towards these fans.
Yeah, the video made me uncomfortable, not because of how he threw it back, but of like how he was targeted.
Yeah, totally.
Like he's like standing in the midst of a bunch of like white players and it's just him.
And white fans as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 All right, V, what are you currently obsessed with?
So excited to tell you about the one this week. It's an ongoing obsession for about 25 years now, and it's hitting a peak this week. And it's Conan O'Brien.
Oh, you love Conan.
He's the host of the Oscars. I've been watching him do his thing piece since like late 90s, late night with Conan O'Brien. In 2007, he recorded a week of shows in San Francisco. I went with my now ex-boyfriend. And Pete, have I ever told you who that guest was that day when I went?
No.
Robin Williams.
Oh my God.
I'm in row 4 of this theater looking at the stage, and it's Conan O'Brien and Robin Williams in front of me. And I wasn't wearing a shirt.
Okay, that tracks.
Like it's just, but there's a reason why Pia wasn't just like, let me whip this off. It's like, when you go to these shows, you have to like wait in line outside the building. And I had this sweater with this cute little blazer, but in San Francisco, so it was like so foggy and cold. And then it got really hot, and I was like, fuck, what am I gonna do? I'm sweating. So I took off my sweater, and I'm just wearing like a bra with a blazer over it. I thought it was a cute look. Do you remember in 2001 there was a movie called Sugar and Spice? It's like a
Yes,
cheerleader.
I love that movie.
Yeah, they're like cheerleaders who do a bank heist because she gets pregnant from the football player.
So good. I love that fucking movie.
Genius fucking movie. And one of the reasons why I love it is because one of the cheerleaders talks about how she has a sex dream about Conan O'Brien.
Uh-huh.
And I remember so understanding that whole thing. Anyway, I just find him to be like so smart, so clever, drama free, offensive free. He has these incredible episodes where he travels around the world and finds a way to engage in humor cross culturally. Obviously, his self deprecating humor is like one of his best ways of engaging. And this is coming off of like SNL 50, where he was a writer for a short time. And now going into the Oscars, and I've been watching a lot of interviews with him, and I'm obsessed with the way he thinks about comedy. I'm obsessed with how it is truly a craft for him and something that he's honed and practiced and studied. It makes it look so easy when he goes out there. And I'm sure when I watch the Oscars on Sunday, he's going to make it look so easy. But I'm just so obsessed with Conan O'Brien.
Oh my God, I can't wait next week to talk about the Oscars because I feel like that's the movie lovers Super Bowl. And we wouldn't be fair if we didn't cater to all the sports.
So true. So true. Okay, that's me, P. What about you? What are you obsessed with this week?
So mine actually has a sports crossover, but I'm kind of obsessed with some of the citizen protests that have been happening here in the US. A lot of them have been people going to town hall meetings in like their cities where their congressmen are coming in who are like usually Republican congressmen, and they're being asked like what do you plan to do about Elon Musk or whatever thing, and then they give like some fucking stupid answer and the whole crowd is just like boo, like fuck you, because they're expecting like a real answer. They're expecting their congresspeople to do shit. So I'm loving these videos, but one that made big headlines here in Southern California was the shenanigans that's been going on in Huntington Beach. This has been like an ongoing thing. Huntington Beach is a very, very Trumpy city openly, and their city council wanted to put on their library this plaque that was like very coded in MAGA. Like it had MAGA as an acronym for like other words. And then it does say like later on the plaque, Make America Great Again. And
Oh
so like
God.
people are like, this does not belong on a public library. And so there's a lot of protesting going on here. And there's a lot of shenanigans that have passed this. One of the protesters who came out this past weekend got arrested was actually my very first favorite NFL player of all time, Chris Cluey. He was a Vikings kicker. And when I was just starting to get into the NFL back in like 2011, he was in the middle of a little bit of a scandal because he was protesting back then too. And I was really struggling to kind of like get on board with the NFL and what they were standing for and being sort of the odd woman out here. And then he comes in being openly protective of gay rights, which is a very difficult thing to do in the NFL.
Correct.
He goes out on such a limb to back this amendment in Minnesota, to be the face of this amendment when they approached him about it. He himself does not identify as LGBTQ, but he's still really, really like put his neck out for this. And I thought that was awesome. I also read a bunch of his like writing and op-eds, and he was always very outspoken and very well spoken.
Mm.
So I became his fan. And then after that, he got fired. And now he's in the news again because he went to Huntington Beach City Council, talked about what MAGA actually stands for, anti-Semitism, fascism, And then he's like, so I am going to exercise my right to peacefully protest. He walks away from the podium. He steps up onto this dais or the stage wherever like the council members are sitting. Before he even gets up there, the one of the council like the council president is like, you can't come up here, someone get him off. And all he planned to do was sit there. He was just
Ugh.
gonna sit down on that stage silently with his legs crossed, and he got arrested and escorted out.
I have seen this clip probably 4 to 5 times. And I will say, I believe I think he's just, I think he identifies as a white,
Yep.
straight dude.
Cis man. Yep.
This is what we need. More of
Yeah.
that. More of
Yeah.
that with the identities that are more protected in this world. And he knows it's going to get coverage. He knows who he is and the
Yep.
publicity. So he's talk about leveraging your platform in
Yeah.
a way that you should. I I remember him coming out as well for equal rights years ago. I just fucking adore this man.
I do too.
Truly. Even though it
Yeah.
took me a while to learn how to pronounce his last name back in the day. But truly, it just I remember like Jane Fonda did this whole thing at the SAG Awards where
Hmm.
she has also been somebody who's spoken for decades about
Yep.
human rights. I can't help but think like how can he get a group a group of dudes to do this?
Yeah.
And how do we get more of that?
Yeah. We
You
need more
know?
of that. I
We need
know.
more of that. I think I get it. There are some athletes who don't quite know how to do it, and so they stay away from it, or especially for female athletes, probably like safety issues, blah blah blah.
Yeah. And like he got fired. His career
He
ended
got
because
fired.
of this.
Yep. And I think he also knew that going in that that was a
Mm-hmm.
risk.
Mm-hmm.
And that is just mad respect for that move.
Everyone who's been making it hard for these council people and Congress people to just sit back and do nothing, I appreciate you and I'm obsessed
Correct.
with you.